Welcome to the Soul Driven Podcast. I believe that when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. If you are searching for meaning and purpose, if you are unsure about how to combine the spiritual with the everyday, if you are ready to uncover who you truly are, then you've come to the right place. The Soul Driven Podcast is dedicated to exploring the intersection of living a soulful and spiritual life in a driven and ambitious world. Join me for practical guidance, truthful discussions, and interviews with people who are successfully living a soul-driven life. My name is Anna Hendricks, spiritual guide, marketer, and your host. Thank you for being here. What's up, folks? Welcome back to another monthly Akashic Record Lesson on the Soul Driven Podcast. Thank you for being here, for being with me. What is up? Who's excited for December? Who loves Christmas music? Who loves the smell of like pine and woodsy things and cinnamon and I don't know, whatever else you can throw in there. I can't believe it's December already. And I'm recording this a couple days before, after my birthday weekend. And I'm kind of recovering, not gonna lie. I've had to re-record this a couple of times, so I'm a bit spunkier than I was the first. But yeah, I just had such a wonderful and full birthday weekend right on the back end of Thanksgiving. And so I'm just tired, like I feel like I could sleep for probably a day or two. And not because I was out partying, all right? I know where your mind's at. I know what you're thinking. But just because, I don't know, it was a kind of a big crescendo leading up to year 40. Like, what is up? And I'm so thankful. Like F society's idea that getting older sucks. Are you kidding me? I love it. Like, legitimately love it. It is such a privilege. I get better every year. I appreciate life more every year. I see things more clearly every year. I mean, it's just like, And I'm proud of my wrinkles. I am. Not that I don't have my days, but whatever to my physical external self, this is so momentary. What really matters is on the inside. Okay. So I hope that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, just a great break or a great weekend, whatever it is that you got to do and or celebrate. I know not everyone celebrates Thanksgiving, but hopefully you at least took some time to be purposefully thankful and, make a list or call someone or something of that nature. I think if especially if you've been a steady listener of this podcast, you've heard me talk about my gratitude practice and how huge it's been in my life and or what a big role it's played. And I heard this really beautiful podcast interview with Gwyneth Paltrow and Jay Shetty over the weekend. It's on the Goop podcast. And she interviewed him. And he talked about how he practices gratitude. Unlike me, he's not for writing it down. He doesn't think that works, which honestly, I disagree with him, like hands down. But I loved that the way that he practices gratitude is by connecting with someone else, and giving thanks for them or something that you just experienced with them and like being personal about it. And I think that is such a beautiful practice. And I loved hearing that because I think it's something that I also want to kind of work its way into what it is that I do in regards to gratitude. But, and this is something you can do at any time of year. I just think that when there's an enormous amount of people who are celebrating something like Thanksgiving and giving thanks, that it really just, there's a lot of energy behind that. So gratitude equals godliness in my mind. And if you're brand new to this podcast, God equals love to me. So quite inclusive. All right. So let's dive into this podcast. First of all, I have two announcements. Number one, I had offered my newsletter community a 15% off of some of my readings just for Thanksgiving. It was actually only supposed to go be live until today. This is just one of the things that like I do just for my newsletter community. So if you aren't a part of my newsletter community and you haven't signed up, make sure you do. Zero spam, I promise. But it really came to me that, especially in this season, especially for this month, especially for us coming up to the end of this year, that I needed to extend that through the month of December. So, and share it with my podcast community, and any of the other places where I'm at online, because I want to make my readings more accessible to you. And in that, so you can get 15% off. Just use the code THANKFUL on your checkout for the 3-question audio reading, or either one of my 60 or 90-minute video Akashic record readings. And those obviously are one-on-one. I guide you through the process. There's any number of things that you can uncover in the records for yourself. The beautiful thing about getting your records read is we go down to the very root of what's going on. So you can get answers to questions like, what do I need in order to feel more blank in my life, right? Like more peace, more love, more joy, more whatever. What do I need to change in myself or my life to allow blank to happen, right? Like meet my soulmate, or land this job, or start this new part of my life, or what must take place before blank occurs, right? Like there's all kinds of things that we can discuss. We can talk about friends and family, which one of my clients right now, we've been working through the different members in her family and just working on healing those, uncovering what those relationships are about. There's so much work that can be done there with families. Repeating patterns or behaviors that you see in yourself, understanding influences from past lives, outside sources, getting some clarification around your soul purpose. There's just a number of things that we can do. And the cool part about this special in particular is that you can not only purchase these readings for yourself, but you could also purchase them as a gift. So if you want to purchase them as a gift for someone else, just contact me. You can email me at souldrivenpodcast@gmail.com, and I will get back to you, and we can make that happen. The second thing is that I am hosting, the thing is, like with the Akashic Records, I don't just want to offer my readings, but I also want to empower you to build a relationship with the Akashic Records and to learn how to read them on your own and for yourself, your family, your friends. The Akashic Records have transformed my life. They continue to do so. And this is a blessing that I want to share, like in my coaching program, in the work that I do. Like I certainly, I'm a guide for people. I don't call myself a coach. I call myself a guide because it's like, this is partnership. This is you and I. We're making it happen. But I don't want to ever build up a relationship where someone is completely reliant upon me. I want to also give you the tools to build up your own so that you can go out and help others. And I've been offering my Accessing the Akashic Records workshop locally here since the spring of this year, and decided to host one online. And so this workshop will be on December 13th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. The replay will be available if you aren't able to attend it live, but I would highly suggest it. In this workshop, we'll be I'll be explaining what the records are, how some guidelines for reading them, numerous things there. And then The really fun part of the workshop is I take everyone into their own records. You get to experience it. You get to bring that back and share with the group. There's so much learning in that portion of the workshop. It's just awesome. And you will absolutely walk away with enough knowledge to be able to start reading on your own and practicing on your own. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure that you check out the link in the show notes. I am keeping this class very small because it is an interactive class and I want everyone to have enough time. And so make sure to grab your spot as soon as possible. Again, that's on December 13th at 6:30 p.m. And if you are unable to attend it live, maybe because of a time zone or something else that's going on, I will definitely give you like personal assistance since you weren't able to actually attend the workshop live and get that personal assistance. So you'll get that from me. Not to worry. I want you to be successful. That's what's important to me. Okay, so diving in. First of all, a little bit of a review on November. How was your month? How was November for you? Our Akashic Record lesson for last month was find the center within yourself. I think for me, when I look at November, I just think rest. Rest, rest, rest. I can see why the Akashic Records have been so vocal the last couple of months about going internal, connecting with ourselves internally. My last podcast, I shared a spiritual toolkit resource list that I had originally created for my newsletter. Make sure you check that out if you haven't. Tons of things there that you can start utilizing in your life. But it was just like November was one of these months where I didn't have like major things happening. I didn't have like all this really intense energy or stuff going on. I think I gave an update like halfway through November and I was like, y'all, this is so much easier than I thought November was going to be. But nonetheless, I was tired and I was constantly beckoned to come inside. And I still think very much so, like moving into December, which after this reading, we'll be diving into some of the astrology for the month of December, as well as checking out a card. So make sure to tune in for that. But yeah, November's just it's honestly kind of a blur, and and I don't even know what to say about it. There was all of this really intense astrology going on in November, and I thought it was going to be so much more tumultuous than it was. But, I'm not sure if like I was just really digging into my spiritual practice well or what was going on. But it was pretty chill, pretty even keeled. I have had some like big decisions coming to the surface for me that I've really needed to take some time to think into, plan. I'm still in the midst of that process with a couple of them. But, it was like, I guess I could sum it up as like a rest and release month, because I can't forget, especially in the midst of the eclipse in Taurus, the release that I've felt and have been feeling around certain areas of my life. And just to give you an example, and I spoke about this a bit last week, and the podcast is finances. Realizing that I have all these money beliefs that have been holding me back my entire life, that are present. All of this pressure and stress and tension and restriction in my body about money. And I really had never had a clue. And, a lot of ideas about money that come from my childhood, that come from who I've been around growing up, that all of this interesting stuff. And it was really a big releasing of a lot of that. And I still have more to do. It's not like I'm healed. Not by any means. I am still working on that, but very specifically working on that. So I just wanted to share that with you in case you saw something for yourself. But we're here at December. We are here at December. And what a wild, I mean, did 2021 fly by for you too? Because this has been in numerology, this has been a 7 personal year, which is a very isolated, sort of introspective spiritual year. And because 2020 was also isolated, I'm like done with the isolation. I'm like, party girl is ready to go back out there to all of the things. And of course, I look at the news and what's going on with, this new variant. And like, okay. Which I just want to briefly say, if you are freaking out about the new variant, please check out the Akashic Record reading that I did about COVID. I think it will bring you a lot of peace and really help you to have a better understanding of what's going on and what you can do during this time. But also, I just want to encourage you to remember that, not only do we need to have our guardrails up when it comes to news and those kinds of things right now, but we need to remember to really stay focused on the present, because that's all that really matters. And while there's all these news stories popping up about what may happen or what could happen and blah, 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 those are not things that are currently happening. And, not just with COVID, but with anything that we see like that that's popping up, that's causing us to get lost in fear or stress, to pull ourselves back and be like, wait a minute, it's not happening in this present moment. So, like I can think about those things and I can prepare, like my partner and I have not stopped wearing our masks out in public just because that's a choice we make. You do your thing. But I think I knew that this wasn't over, and, it's certainly not what I want, but it just is what it is. And in the meantime, I'm going to do what feels right for me. And so, we haven't stopped wearing our mask out in public. And, like we'll take precautions, but we're not going to freak out. We're not going to stay up at night. We're not going to, it's not here. So we don't need to flip out. I think that being able to stay level-headed and maintain, being, I should say knowing like what's going on in the world, but staying in a place of empowerment is so important during these times. Stay present, pull yourself back. Don't let yourself get lost in what might be, because guess what? It may never happen. And then you've wasted all of that time and energy that could be put forth into something that's fruitful in the future. So little side tangent there. Sorry about that. But I am excited to share this reading with you, to dive into this, to talk about the astrology for December ahead. And I'd love to know how your November went. If you want to send me an email, hit me up on social media, whatever, do your thing. Okay, so if you are new to this podcast, to the Akashic Record Lessons, again, welcome. I created a podcast specifically about the Akashic Records that explains them. It was a bonus episode. We'll put that in the show link so you can check that out if you want to dive a little bit deeper. Suffice it to say that this message is channeled through the Akashic Records for the listeners of the Soul Driven podcast. So whether you are here all the time, or this is your very first time, or you just fall upon this randomly, there's something here for you, regardless of when you find it, even if it's 3 years from now. There is no time outside of this planet. Time is a human construct. And so these things are forever alive and present for us if we're drawn to them. What are the Akashic Records? To be really short, the Akasha is energy that exists around us at all times. Everything is energy. I'm energy. My desk is energy. My walls are energy. but energy vibrates at different frequencies. And the Akashic Records exist at a very high frequency. It actually exists in other dimensions. And so when I go into the Akashic Records, I'm actually saying a prayer that takes me up into those dimensions. And from there, I can find out information that relates to past, present, future. It is all there for me. And in this space, I can channel through messages for you. Just like I talked about earlier in regards to like the things that you could ask in the Akashic Records. So this is where we're at. So what is going to happen here is I'm going to be sharing with you the channeled message for December. Then I'll pop back in on the other side to dive into the astrology, share an oracle card for the month ahead, and just kind of, talk through the message a bit. But as always, I highly recommend really taking some space, go hang out in a corner by yourself, put your headphones on, really take in this message and revisit it throughout the month. At the beginning of every week, just listen to it again. You can find the timestamps in the show notes so that you can just kind of click right through to the message. But there will be something there for you every step of the way. So I think that's about it. All right. I will see you on the other side. We see so much happening that at times even we are at a loss for words. That there is so much hate and strife and breaking apart. But even in the midst of these tumultuous times, we see radiant light. It is beaming down on all of you. It is that gentle, nurturing voice that beckons you further still and inside of yourself, dreaming up dreams you held as a small child, replaying memories, voices and etchings of landscapes, those wild places that called your name. What was it in the distance that beckons you forward now? What is it that can bring you to your knees? What is it that will fill you whole to the very tip top? That will overflow into your life and create a cascade of wondrous happenings. We see so much in the palm of your hand. That one you've got rolled up tightly, wishing to guard yourself, wishing to play your part in the undoing of everything that is happening around you. Yet it is this palm that once open wide can welcome in the greatest relief. It can call forward to itself the greatest of achievements. it can welcome unto itself those surrounding it. It can bring to life all that has been flattened, anything that has been hard to unearth deep within yourself. Lay this palm now across your heart. Feel the steady rhythmic tone underneath. Feel the way it moves and gathers. Building up speed, slowing down. It is this beautiful balance of life which hangs in the stillness of all you do not say or seek or share, but find yourself blundering through. It is this pulse of life that wanders through your everyday life, looking for a reason to beat a little harder. Let not what is in front of you scare you or harm you, make you retreat deep inside of your world. For the world needs you at this time. There is much breaking of heart that is to come. And yet in these moments, it is the beat that you must return to, the balanced breath, the way in which you shoulder all that has come thundering forward, and yet wishes to lie at your feet. It is here we wish to say, do not allow yourself to get caught up, but find steady rest in bathing yourself in the light of the moon, in the light of anything that you can find that warms your heart. What are those things that draw you home? What is it that beats outside your door? Life is coming to a bit of a head as the year winds down. But rest assured, all is exactly where it's meant to be. This is a leap into a new era. This is a taking off. This is a letting go. For next year will hold so much opportunity for you to unravel even further, to step more solidly into the place of your being that is becoming. We welcome this change inside of you. We welcome all that may come. Find solace among one another. Share love and hope around bonfires and tender moments. When things might feel heavy, find the light. Laugh and bring cheer. For truly, this is only the beginning. Okay, all right. So, just kind of coming back in. I never like to be too forceful on the other side of a reading because I don't know about you, but I'm always transported to another world when I listen to the reading. And even though I'm the one creating this, hold on. Had an eyelash, had to make a wish. Do you still do that? Am I the only one who like makes a wish every time I get a eyelash? Anyway. anyway. Okay, so let's dive in here. First of all, I loved this reading, and I know that I mentioned in a couple of podcasts ago, I feel like, how the way that I read the records has started to change because my clairsentience, otherwise known as my feeling gifts and sensitivities, have really been coming on board. And in that, when I'm channeling through a message, it's not only me seeing or knowing or hearing, it's like I'm really starting to feel what I'm experiencing, and it's kind of throws me for a bit of a loop. No complaints. I'm thankful, and it's just a bit different. So it's a little bit harder for me to balance the feeling and the seeing and like the words and just kind of, as you can imagine, your senses, like if you're feeling something and seeing it and hearing it, and like just kind of intuitively knowing it all at the same time, it's like, wait a minute. I think that I've felt things through the records prior, but this is just something that's very different. I don't fully know how to explain it yet. So anyway, but it was a beautiful reading that came through. It felt really good. It felt lighter than some of the past readings. And while there were lots of visuals coming through, I felt like it was a much more abstract reading than the past several readings have been. Like, I think could have been November or October, but it was like when I got to the other side of this and I'm like supposed to talk about it, I'm like, really? I feel like it's pretty obvious. Just go read it, okay? That being said, for anyone who likes reading these readings, the transcription of the monthly lessons are always available in the show notes. So I love to do that. I always have the readings transcribed after I channel them through so that I can like put voice to words. It's what I like. But anyway, I it felt, yeah, it was interesting because the thing is, like, when a reading is more abstract, I feel like it provides more opportunity for feeling into how the meanings might be different for all of us, which I love that opportunity. So I'm really curious how the reading sat with you, what really came forward for you. Definitely hit me up on social media, send me an email, whatever. I'd love to hear. But I want to dive in and kind of talk about a couple of things that really stood out to me. So, first of all, when this reading ended with "this is only the beginning," I was like, I had to stop recording right away because I was like, what? What? It just blew my mind because if you haven't listened to the 2021 forecast episode that I did with Sarah Elise, which we'll be having another one coming soon for 2022, but that was one of the things that the Akashic Records had channeled through on my end. So I did readings from the Akashic Records for that forecast, and she, of course, brought the astrology. So, but the records channeled through that like 2020 was the shakeup, and 2021 was just the beginning. So the fact that like this very last month of this year saying this is just the beginning was like, boom. I'm so excited to find out what the theme for 2022 is. Really excited, which I'm going to be doing that differently this year. So last year I channeled through 3 different readings and kind of compiled them together to really like put my thoughts together. But this year I'm going to be doing that just like I did the reading about COVID, where I went in and actually treated it like it was an Akashic reading, like with a client, where I asked multiple questions. And so I'm going to be doing that for 2022, finding out like what we can look forward to, what are some difficult things going to be, what our theme is, like blah, blah, blah. So that'll be a full on, probably at least an hour channeled reading for you all. And that'll also be transcribed and shared. So FYI. But I loved it that was the end because it was just like, but okay. um, and while this reading was more abstract, I really felt like it was ultimately talking about the same thing that they have been talking about for the past several months, which is recentering ourselves, coming back to that home within, that wisdom, finding that balance. I love that they used the visual of the heart and the heart beating so much. And when I channeled through that reading and they were like, put your palm on your heart, like I so did that like in the midst of it. And it was just like, oh, felt so good. I hope that you did that. If you didn't, I highly recommend re-listening and really just following along and seeing what comes forward for you. But the heart played such a central theme to this reading. And the heart is really like, it's our home, it's our base, it's our center. If you know anything about the chakra system, there's 7 chakras. And I mean, different people say different things. There's, I think, 13 chakras altogether or something. But the bottom line being the heart is the central one that connects the lower chakras to the upper chakras. And, that home within us is our heart. And like, what is our heart telling us? Is it beating really fast because it's freaked out? Does it feel hard because it's like restrictive and putting up a wall and again, like in fear? Or is it wide open? Is it just kind of kicking it? Is it flowing with life? Whenever we're feeling confused about what is going on in our life, man, the reconnecting here will let us know. It's that like daily litmus test or momentary litmus test for like, wait, what's happening here? Have a discussion with a friend, family member, loved one, whatever, and you're not sure how to feel, boom, come back here to center, right? Come back here. But all of that being said, like, it's so important for us. And I feel like this is why they channel it through again. It's like, it's such an important time for us to take our spiritual practices seriously, to begin investing the time and energy into showing up every day in whatever way that looks like for us, dedicating ourselves and really creating and strengthening that relationship. I've talked about this several times, especially in November. It was like, I feel like all about spiritual practice, and I provided tons of tools for you, to help that might inspire you. Tons of tools which you could choose from, and kind of figure out which ones work for you. And if you need help in this area, if you don't know how to create a spiritual practice for yourself, if you feel lost, like, contact me. This is what I do. I work with people. I am a spiritual guide. I'm happy to work with you and help you find what works for you, help to cultivate this in your life, something that you can really start gaining from and growing from in your life. Because living a life without spirituality is empty, period. It just is. And I have been blessed to incarnate into this lifetime knowing God from the beginning. And that has always been the greatest blessing that I've ever had. And all I could say is I've always looked out at the world, and the world wants us to try and be satisfied by everything that's external, but none of that can satiate what's inside of us. What our soul yearns for is that spiritual connection. So if you don't know how to do that for yourself, contact me. We can talk, whatever. And the thing is, the reason why this is so important right now is because when we look at the outside world, things are rocky, they're unsteady. And while we're going to have some chill days, some easy places, you know what I mean? As soon as we look outside of ourselves, it's going to be really easy to get distracted, to fall off our keel, right? We're going to see things shaking, falling. People around us are going to be losing it. People we love, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to be in the same place as us spiritually. And we've got to figure out how to maintain our center while still being, in their life or whatever, if that's something that works for us. We've got to figure out how to navigate this new world. And if we don't know how to do that, we're going to really struggle. We're going to get caught up in all the things. And it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that hard. Like, if we are putting time into our spiritual practice, it can be pretty easy. Not that life isn't going to throw things at us, not that it's not going to get difficult, but our frame of mind, our ability to come back to center, our ability to find that firm foundation below us is going to be so much easier. And the joy, oh my gosh, like, the joy is going to be greater than anything I can describe, to be quite frank with you. We need to lean on our spiritual practices to guide us, to help direct us. We don't have to do it alone. I mean, if you want to, be my guest. Be my guest. That was one of the things I always would look at people growing up who didn't have a relationship with God. And I just thought, like, how the hell do you make it through life without having God to lean on? Without having a spiritual practice to be like, okay, I can come here always, and it's always there for me. God won me over with his consistency as I grew into my teenage years. Like, God and I were cool when I was a kid. And of course, as you start getting older, you kind of start distancing yourself from these things. I think children are very spiritual, but then we grow into life and we go to school and we have all of these pressures. But then I found myself in my teenage years, and I mean, my teenage years, and they sucked. They were bad. They were not fun. They were hard, all capital letters. God was always there. That was how God won me over, was just like consistently being there. Even when I showed up yelling, screaming, mad, angry, even blaming God, because like I think that all of us do that at some point in time or another. And there's no shame in it. It's okay. God doesn't have an ego. So, you know, and if you are new to this podcast, again, God equals love for me. So whether it's goddess or universe or nature, Buddha, whatever, do your thing. But the thing is that when we have a spiritual practice in place, we can really ride through the waves. We can kind of like coast through them, like on top instead of hitting, boom, each one, boom, water in our face, a boat gets flipped over, you know what I mean? Like we can kind of coast. Not that we won't feel the impact, right? But we'll be okay. We'll be okay. We'll keep getting back up. And then finally, I think with this reading, how it summed up was like, make laughter a priority in your life. It's everything, We take life way too seriously. We take spirituality too seriously. If we can't laugh at ourselves, what's the point? What's the point? We need that. We really, really need that. And whether it's movies or like being around that friend who's just like a nerd, or, if we're lucky enough to be in partnership with someone who really makes us laugh, like make laughter a priority, because no matter what's going on, if we can laugh, if we can find a place of laughter, it just kind of like melts away what's going on, My partner and I had an argument recently, and he had come in our room. I was by myself there, and he'd come in to talk to me, and he was like trying to make me hug him, and he was like, throwing or trying to get my arm to like come through the loop of his arm, and and I was like being mad and acting like a 5-year-old, and like like limp limbs. And I just started cracking up because he and I was being hard about it at first because I was irritated, and, and then I just had to start laughing because it was like, this is funny, this is funny, and it just softened everything, right? It was just like, this is dumb. Why are we arguing over this? Like, life is just too short. It's just too short. So, again, I would love to hear how this reading resonated with you. Hit me up, hit me up. Okay, so the astrology for December. First of all, I want to say that we have a lot of different transits taking place in December. I think there's 8 in total. I'm not going to go through all of them, don't worry. I have been studying astrology since I was a kid, but I am not a professional, at least not yet. So it is something I'm starting to study, like kind of, oh goodness, what's the word? Purposefully, I should say. I'm wanting to bring all this information that I've been learning together and kind of be able to put it in a cohesive structure, if you will. A lot of people just wing things, and I think I could wing it, but I don't want to wing it. Like, I want to geek out about it. I want to like nerd out hard and go deep, and then I want to bring it forward. So if you are looking to dive deep into what's going on this month, hello, where's my some of the astrological resources that I included in my toolkit resources list, things like the Astrology podcast. He does a great monthly like overview, and I mean it's like several hours long, 2 to 3 hours long, just kind of depending, but it's so good. Molly McCord is another one if you want to check that out. And so those are just some options for you if you really want to dive deep. Molly McCord isn't, hers are like 30 to 45 minutes, so more doable, but she's great. But what I wanted to talk about with the astrology is it's an interesting month because we have this sort of like juxtaposition between very soft, sort of feminine energy and really intense masculine energy. And this is a month where we're really going to be making some big decisions about our purpose, about our life, thinking about what it is that we want and who it is that we want in our life. And the energies are just going to kind of be pushing us to really get, and helping us, I should say, to really get clear about that. And I think that by the time we step into 2022, we're going to kind of be in a place where we're like, I'm ready to set some serious intentions for the year ahead and to make some shit happen. And so, some of the days you're going to feel like you're like, "Grr, go, 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 go." Sagittarius, my lovely natal sign, is an amazing sign. But we're all about philosophy and life learning and fun, but we can also be very judgmental and dogmatic and kind of like I'm right, you're wrong type of stuff in our shadow. And so you're going to be seeing those two sides kind of on and off throughout a large portion of the month as they come into play with things like Mars. When Mars steps into Sagittarius, it's going to be like Mars is said to be in its detriment in Sagittarius because it's the farthest way from its home planet or home sign in Gemini. But they still actually work well together. It's just you have to be aware of the fact that you've got Mars, this like really strong masculine energy that wants to go, go, go and get things done in Sagittarius, and that's also Sagittarius. But Sagittarius is like way more balanced, and that Sagittarius wants to have fun. So that could cause some friction, and that could cause some like, tension, like some anxiety, some like feeling like you're caged, like you're bottled, you know what to do. Highly, highly recommend exercising and moving your body this month. Take walks if you're feeling this way, like jump up and down, like just like kind of bounce up and down if you can't go anywhere. I used to do that for like a minute and a half before I would go on my runs. That was my way of just kind of like heating up my body. And you'll be surprised at how much energy you can kind of work through just like by jumping up and down, just like bouncing up and down. I'm not talking about like jump squats. I mean, just like boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? Like just move your body. Like I think this month is going to be huge for body movement. So, really think about that. It's another month where leading with curiosity is just the way to go because there is this tension, that could be mounting. And this tension can also be really good because it can help us to get really clear on what it is that we want and start taking action in those areas. And so it's not like that's all bad or negative by any means. But if something happens, like we're not getting enough sleep, or maybe, something happens at work or in a relationship or whatever that, is not so great, that can really shift us. That can really put us on a different path. So again, coming back to center, connecting with our heart, you know what I mean? Taking some deep breaths, really doing those things. I just think that overall this month, there's a lot of opportunity for growth, like soul growth, and like actually doing some things in life. But we're going to have to maintain and be purposeful and intentional. I saw this article on Medium. This guy wrote about this new I talked about this briefly in the intro. A little side rant about this new COVID variant that's like freaking everybody out. And I think that that's just like a really good example of something happening and people are just freaking out and everything's like shutting down, and I'm not talking about here in the US so much, but like the New York has already declared a state of emergency. And I don't know whether that's like hysteria or not, or right or wrong. We forget, like, we haven't been here as a planet yet. Yes, the planet has gone through massive, pandemics before, way worse than COVID in many ways, but at the same time, like, not in our modern world. So they're trying to figure it out. They're really trying to make some good decisions here. And not everyone is going to be great. But the big lesson, at least for me, of 2020 was take one day at a time. And I think especially through December, because there are going to be these, like, this bouncing back and forth between these days that feel really good and these days that feel like really jolting. And if we're not kind of like taking it one day at a time, we're going to get really just like caught up and confused. We might feel like we're, getting spun around in a little bit of a blender. And that can be really intense. Some of the dates that I'll just point out to you, on December 4th, we've got that solar eclipse in Sagittarius, and this is wrapping up a culmination of lessons that have happened in our life over the past year and a half, and it's going to be pretty intense. So this one is going to definitely be like that energy that's like pushing us to grow, pushing us to really think about what it is that we want. So this is going to be a beautiful new moon to sit down, to really journal out. If you don't like writing or you don't have the patience for it, obviously you can type. Another thing I would suggest is using your voice notes app, and just to really talk things out. I love going for walks and talking to God. That always helps me to kind of work through some things. It's just always fascinating where I find myself when I'm just talking and not even really thinking about it. I'm like, oh, wow, well, there's the answer. Okay, thank you. But this lunar eclipse is going to be all about taking action. So it's going to come with a lot of intensity behind it. So, and this eclipse is like, it's not going to be over when the new moon's over. This energy is really going to be carrying forward for like another week or two, low key, but still there. So, it's a wrap up of some lessons that we have been learning over the past year and a half. And, like, for instance, one of the things that has really happened to me in the midst of this, so it's the Sagittarius, Gemini nodes that are moving through. I'm not going to dive into this too much, but one of the things that I've been asked to really, that has really changed in my life a lot, is the things I like to do. It's just, the past year and a half, like, forget it. The things that bring me joy now are completely different from things that brought me joy 2 years ago. And, there's been a lot of grief in that because I've like tried to go back to things to find joy in areas of my life that aren't there anymore. I've let go of a lot of people. I've changed. And these are periods that we go through. And so now that we're kind of coming to the end of this culmination, which really, it wraps up with the full moon in Gemini at the end of the month, but like, it's going to be like a review, thinking about, all right, what has been happening in your life? What have you been releasing? What are you now taking on? And the action part of this eclipse is, what are we taking on? That's new, right? Again, curiosity. So on December 13th, that's when Mars is entering Sagittarius, and that's when that like kind of serious tension is going to start. So just kind of pay attention. On this 13th as well, like Mercury enters Capricorn, which once we kind of get into Capricorn with Mercury, we're going to be looking for more structure in our lives and just kind of like thinking about where we waste time, how we can really improve our communication, and we'll still be in Sagittarius season. So this is like a nice mix of the two. On the 19th, we'll have our full moon in Gemini. And this will like come through as, I mean, when you've got like, we'll still be in Sagittarius, but we'll be experiencing the full moon in Gemini. Like, this is all about fun, spontaneity, need for change, and really like thinking about what's going on with our energy at this point in time in the month. Is it balanced? And if it's not, how do we handle that overflow? What are we going to do with it? Are we projecting it out in good ways? Because it's like young kids when they have like tons of energy after they eat some sugar, like, and they'll just like totally spaz out, and before you know it, they're doing something like they don't even mean to do, because they're just, like they're hitting somebody, or they're like ruining something, or like breaking something, and they're not even meaning to. They have so much energy. And so we definitely really want to think about it at this point in time in regards to where our energy's at. Just be mindful of this. It's a happy time. So but and be cautious of conversations that you're going to be having during this time. Like, just kind of do your best to be present if you are explaining yourself, if you are, trying to articulate how you feel about something. Just try and and be present in your body. On the 19th as well, Venus goes retrograde into Capricorn, which is a whole huge thing. It will be like hanging out in Capricorn until March, I believe. So it'll go retrograde and then it'll come back into Capricorn. And this is like a massive shakeup, because Venus in Capricorn, which is actually, that's how it is in my chart. Like my natal chart, my Venus is in Capricorn. And, Venus is that planet of love and beauty and da 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 da. And Capricorn is kind of that sign of like, get shit done and make it efficient. And like, I remember reading about like, the girl who has Venus in Capricorn, like she's the businesswoman of the zodiac. And I was like, yep. It's like, we don't mess around when it comes to our dating lives. We want to make sure that who we are hooked up with is on our level, right? That they can carry their own thing. Because guess what? We'll have ours, We don't play games. We don't mess around. We aren't like, just overly fluffy with our feelings. We don't just easily fall in love with whomever. And those are a lot of the things that we're going to be working through during this time. It's really going to be a lot about relationships. Like, does this work for you? Is this where you want to be? Is this who you want to be with? Like, I think it's going to turn a lot of relationships upside down. It's going to be a big deal, because we will have this like no nonsense approach to our relationships and to the things in our life that may or not be working, and I don't just mean relationships. It's like our home. Like, do you like your home? Do you like what's going on in your life? Do you like your job? What is going on here? And if these things aren't working for you, then you're probably going to start making some big shifts. And or you're going to start building some systems into place to make it better, or to improve it. So I think it's going to be a really beautiful time. I love when Venus is in Capricorn personally, because it's like my jam. That's all I have to say. I feel very at home. So I'm kind of pumped that this is going to be happening for the next couple of months. That being said, I know she's definitely going to be like kicking up some dust. So we'll see. This is a time of soul searching and really connecting with yourself. So on the 22nd, we move into Capricorn. Capricorn, it's a beautiful earth sign. It can be very sensual. And I mean, Capricorns, like some of the best comedians are Capricorns. They're so funny. Like they have like just a great sense of humor. It's usually like that nice, dry, earthy, like sarcastic, witty sense of humor, which is personally my favorite. One of my best friends, he's a Capricorn, and he makes me laugh all the time. I'm just like, dude, you could be a comedian. But on the other hand, they're they're an earth sign. Like they're very like steady, they're plotting, they're all about those systems, about making things work. Capricorns will like keep their head down for 20 years and then pop up and like be like a millionaire. Like you won't know what's going on in their life because they're not overly showy or like trying to be cool. But then all of a sudden they'll have like succeeded at something huge. They're an incredible sign. I love Capricorn personally. So it's a beautiful time of year, and also of bringing, the things that you dream about into the material world, right? Starting to actually take action on those things. As you can see, as I'm like kind of wrapping this up, it's like this month is going to be like about getting the ish done. And then at the very end here on the 28th, we've got Jupiter entering into Pisces, which is Jupiter rules Pisces and Sagittarius. But they say that like Jupiter in Sagittarius is like the masculine version and Jupiter in Pisces is the feminine. For instance, and when Jupiter is in Pisces, it's very happy, beautiful things happen. So this year in 2021, when it went into Pisces, was when the mask ban was first lifted, and it was like crazy. It was like the first day that the mask ban was lifted, and like it's a beautiful sign, but it can also be a little bit kind of woo. It's certainly about connecting with our spiritual sides. It's certainly about thinking about the world around us and having empathy. It's a very feminine, beautiful energy. And I think at the coming into the end part of the month in this is just, it's wonderful. It kind of bounced back into Aquarius for a while and is now going to be coming back into Pisces. So, but we do want to think about things like holding ourselves accountable during this time. And again, just leading with our curiosity. So, because there's other sides to Jupiter and Pisces, but honestly, if you're leading with curiosity, you will be all good. Okay, so the card for the month, I have been getting really drawn to getting back into my tarot cards lately, like really getting pulled back. And I haven't full on done it yet, but I decided to go ahead and like draw a tarot card for today. So it just kind of blew me away, the synchronicity of all of this. So I pulled up the Ace of Swords, and what's really fascinating about this card is it's kind of like, it's known for bringing in opportunity. It's about like a different perspective. It's seeing things from a different angle. It's like those realizations. It's getting clear. It's a very communicative card. And it represents a new truth. So doing things like journaling and blogging and writing are all kind of parts of how the Ace of Swords can be utilized. And using your voice, using your words to not only connect with yourself, but those around you, what it is that's going on. This is a really beautiful card that's focused on teaching and learning, on education. But it is really heralding like a new stage in life, a new beginning. And I thought that was just so beautiful, considering, again, the end of the reading. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So under this card, it's really, so this is an air sign, which is all about communication. So this is really kind of like asking us to think through what it is that we know, to like put our emotions aside and to think about what is right, what is right for us, what may be right for others. It helps us to, or encourages us to look at our life and situations from different angles. And it's a beautiful card for planning, setting out that path that's going to take us down the road. So something that I really want to recommend in connection to this card is sitting down this month and really thinking about, what do you want? Like, what brings you joy? What do you want to do with your life? And really spend some time thinking about it, thinking about how you want to bring that thing to life, or what it is that you want to do around it. Getting really clear, like, again, writing, using your voice notes, typing if you want to, like, go for walks, talk it out. If you have a friend who can, like, talk it out with you without, pushing their opinion on you too much, like, do that, or a family member, or whatever the case may be. But this month is, man, it's just like the reading said, like, this is ushering in a new era. Like, we are stepping into a whole new time, not just within our own selves, but within the collective, within our planet. It's exciting. I don't know. I'm excited. And I'm thankful, because I do have the things in place that can help me maintain in this time. So I hope that you do as well. And again, if that is something that you're unsure of, definitely check out last week's episode. You can listen to it, or you can read through the resource list and just kind of pick and pull what resonates with you. I created such a huge list because not everything is for everybody, but I encourage you to check some things out and just find something that you can fall in love with. And of course, I'm here to help you. If you need anything, please never hesitate to reach out to me. I love hearing from y'all. It makes my day every single time. All right, folks, this is all I've got for you today. Thank you so much again for being here. And if you have enjoyed this, please share this episode with someone who could benefit from it, who might enjoy it. Leave us a rating or review on iTunes. Please, please, please. I want to share Soul Driven with more people. Make sure to sign up for the email list to be a part of the newsletter community. You'll get podcast updates and resources. It's just, it's really the soul place I'm putting my time and energy into right now. So it's definitely a place where you want to be. With all of that being said, I'm wishing you a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And don't forget, when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. Until next week.